Not the worst thing I've been doing.
Today.
Let's talk about today.
Mackville Nationals state level, you have to run non-sales, wholesale.
It is like 9,000.
The only mistake I made, I didn't put her in the registration booth with the
Just this ever-evolving story.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Let's Grow Pulling, the official podcast of the Beer Money Pulling Team and your Monday night source for pulling news, statistics, and inside stories, all things truck and tractor pulling. My name is Mike Eitel. I'm joined again tonight by our kind of up-and-coming, really getting a feel for it, our co-host, Logan Stevens. I was able to watch some of the shows you did with Jason while I was out in Maine. I was having a nice time out there. Got to tip my cap to you, buddy. This is really turning into a very comfortable fit for you. I like having you on the show. I think you're doing an excellent job. How'd things go while I was out hiking mountains and stuff?
It went very smoothly. Definitely missed you a lot. Enjoy having you around, but no, we got to interview a whole bunch of great guys and just talk about, a huge weekend we had last weekend.
Definitely. So the 2025, as far as I'm concerned, the 2025 outdoor season is underway. This was kind of our Kickstarter NTPA Grand National Series, getting things going up in Hutchinson, Minnesota. It's a phenomenal pull. If you've never been up to Hutch, go on up there. It's a great time. And the Outlaw Truck and Tractor Pulling Association, that's where I was out in Ravenna, Nebraska, kicking off the Case IH Thunder in the Dirt National Points Series. Both of these associations have an app that you can use to follow. I downloaded the NTPA app over the weekend. It works very, very similarly to my Outlaw app as well. And we're going to be using that tonight because all your results are right on there. Highly encourage fans to do that. It's an easy way. I wasn't able to watch Hutch, but I could sit there and keep up with the results. Logan, let's talk about some of these results. Let's talk about this week. And we've got a big show for you guys tonight. Doug Christensen's going to come on here, and he's going to talk to us about pulling right there in Minnesota. Rodger Baum's going to come on after that and talk to us about the Mackville Nationals in Wisconsin. And then David Anderson, a winner from the Outlaw Show, he's going to join us for pulling through the past. Top of your head, Ravenna, Hutch, the whole pulling world. What comes to your mind from this weekend?
Well, let's just start back-to-back wins from the Simon crew in the Pro Stock division. That kicking the weekend off there, bookend weekend, classic. Then you move to some new vehicles. We saw a new diesel super stock right out of the Bauer stable. And night one kind of had a little bit of struggles with her, but way to bounce back night two and go for the win. Then you had a totally out-of-pocket run that, not to discount him, but I don't think very few expected it from the guy we're going to interview here in a few, Doug Christensen and the Pack Rat. Any of those guys anyone can win it, but to see what we would classify as a hometown guy go out there and lay down a huge pass is just phenomenal.
What's the toughest pull? You're a puller. You know this. What's the toughest pull to win?
It's your hometown pull.
It's your hometown
that's exactly
pull.
what
Absolutely.
It is.
Yep, absolutely. So very excited. No, that was the first one that kind of came to my mind. And, I was messaging you guys throughout the week last week, and I said, let's hold off on inviting guests until we see how the weekend develops. We want to see what the stories are going to be. And I think Doug's story was definitely one that I think jumped into most people's mind. That's exactly what we're going to be talking about right there. Let's go back to Bauer.
Yeah.
So there's always a break-in period with vehicles. We saw some new ones debut out there in Ravenna. Friday night, he puts on a fire show. I think he actually got DQ'd. It looked like he had a big distance, but it looked like he might have went and dusted that chalk line. Not only did he win Saturday night, put 40 feet on the field. It wasn't just we snuck out the back door, 370 some odd feet. What's that say to you, Logan? What's that say about that tractor and the impact it's going to have on this class this year?
There's a lot of big stuff going on with that tractor. And just knowing some of the guys behind the scenes with CJ Herr, the man behind it, there's something special with that tractor that they've figured out.
Yeah, really exciting to see. I feel like so many people over the past couple of years have jumped over towards your class, got into the mini rods or even got into the mods that were becoming a very automotive driven truck and tractor pulling. And the diesel classes, especially the multi-charger diesel classes, we've seen not as much new iron. Really cool to see an established mod and mini rod puller kind of jump into the diesel game.
Jump back to the dark side.
Obviously, someone who knows how to drive and with a tractor who's got a setup like that, the diesel world needs to be on red alert because, it wasn't just a sneaky accidental win. It was a convincing win from a many-time Grand National champion. So absolutely good call with Bauer right there. Ravenna, did you get to watch any of that?
I just hopped in on a few parts, caught a couple runs here and there, but I haven't had a chance to see. I know you were there a whole bunch, and let's hear what you have to say about it.
So the first thing you have to call attention to is the track crew. We got absolutely saturated with moisture Thursday, Friday, Saturday. There was really never a 12-hour window where we weren't getting rained on. I bet they worked for 9 hours on Friday. I bet they worked for another 9 hours on Saturday. Absolutely never say die attitude. We had the show on Saturday and the track was actually in great shape. Really, really good track. 100 hooks in 4 hours. It was, the Outlaws came out with a bang this weekend, getting that second session off, going really well. A lot of winners, like you said with the Simons, people you expected to win. Keith Hammonds, 7-time points champion. He won again there. We saw Dustin Corliss pick up his second win in a row at Ravenna. We saw Corey Schluter pick up his second win in a row at Ravenna, another defending points champion. But our red alert, much like Adam Bauer in the NTPA, our red alert class is our 5.0 Pro Stocks with Lacey and Caden Weger, a father-son team out of Oklahoma who bought a pair of Pro Stocks last year, ran them tentatively, but then went all in on everything this year. Went first and second by about 20 feet or so in that Pro Stock class, the final class of the night. That's going to be a story that we're going to need to be paying attention to out there. So we tip our cap to them. And without letting too much of the cat out of the bag, if you follow some of our other podcasts, like our Outlawed Live Tuesday night podcast, something tells me we might hear directly from Lacey and Caden Weger. So just kind of be posted with them. But at this time, let's hop back over to the NTPA. Let's talk exactly like you said, hometown pull. We'll bring on our first guest of the night, the pilot of the Pack Rat 4, Mr. Doug Christensen. We'll go ahead and put him on the show right now. Doug, how are you doing tonight? Thank you for joining us.
Doing great.
Wonderful. So pulling in Hutchinson, Minnesota, your hometown is Glencoe, correct?
Correct.
How far is Glencoe from Hutch?
15 miles.
Okay, so without a doubt, this is our hometown pull, right?
Yep, definitely.
Absolutely. Tell us about Power Pull Nationals. What's it mean to you? What makes it a special pull? Just kind of start there.
Well, it's a pull, it started out regional pull, so we've been there many times with the tractor and the two-wheelers. We used to help put on the pull with Ricky and Julie.
Yeah.
So it's definitely been there many years. Have done there really good with the two-wheelers before.
How much has it grown since it started? I know it's been about 10 years since I've been up there, but there's a massive bleachers. I mean, the stands there, the seating is pretty big. and they pack them full. I mean,
it was full.
They hold a crowd there. Has it been that way since day one? Is this just diehard pulling country, or has this kind of grown and evolved over the years?
Central. Since it's switched to the Grand National, it's definitely getting bigger and bigger. It's in this area, it's the biggest pull around for Minnesota wise, so it's definitely draws in a lot of people.
Is it the only Grand National show in Minnesota? Off the top of my head, I want to say it is.
Yep, it's the only Grand National pull here in Minnesota.
Sure. So kind of like you're saying, that's going to be a major draw for a lot of these people. Have you pulled there in Hutchinson since day one? Has one of your vehicles always been there? Have you ever missed a year?
No, we've been there every year. Well, every year that they had our class.
Sure.
Okay.
Back when it was region, we were definitely there with all of our vehicles. Grand National, we were there every year. They had our class. Even if they had the unlimited there, typically we tried to be there and run unlimited. Sometimes we had to leave the second day to go to a region show afterwards. Yeah. Like we had to do this year with our two-wheelers. We had to go to Ellsworth with half our crew to go over there.
How many vehicles do you guys campaign in the summer? I mean, I know the term pack rat's kind of fitting. I mean, you pack them into those semis pretty tight. What's your total number of toys you're up to now?
We've got 5. We got 4 two-wheelers and then the mod. So anytime we go any place with everything, we have to have two vehicles to haul them down the road. We got a semi that'll haul 3 of the two-wheelers and a mod. And then we'll put the mod in a separate truck. Or if we go, mod isn't going anywhere, then we'll put all 4 two-wheelers in the big semi.
Sure. So go ahead, Logan.
Okay. So this is you won with pack rat number 4, correct?
Correct.
So how long have you guys had that chassis for? And talk us through some of the other ones that you've had in the past.
We built this chassis in '91, similar to what it looks like now. Back then we had two crank to crank up front when we built it, and then 2 of the transverse motors.
You changed that setup. I wanted to say off the top of my head, I remember when you had, the crank to crank and the twins facing outward. You changed that around 21, 22, somewhere in that ballpark. When did you switch to the fully, cross-mounted, and what inspired that switch?
Well, prior to that, we were running the 2 transverse and 1 single motor up front for region pulling, and when we go Grand National pulling, we'd put a 4th motor in back with a stair step box. It's just more weight that way. It's definitely lighter if we can get 2 of the transverse boxes in there and run it that way.
Sure.
So I believe I heard Jason mention in your interview that was your first Grand National win in the modified division, correct?
Yep, that was mine first for the Grand National mod.
So walk us through some of that. Tough field of competitors out there, and to pull out one on your hometown pull.
Well, it was definitely exciting. We were watching the show, the other 2 classes that were running, the super stock and the 4-wheel drives, and I was back still doing the drawbar and stuff, and Dad was out watching the other show, and I could hear it in the background that they definitely was greasy or weren't hooking up. RPMs were going up. And then he come back, and we're definitely have to change what we're planning on doing. So we had to change our setup, detune it so we can match what the track was going to take. So we didn't overpower it.
If you could have drawn up the perfect scenario, so you've been hunting a Grand National win in the mod class. You said you built this in '91. You've been pulling a long time. Is this the ideal scenario to get that first GN win at the home track? That's got to be pretty special, right?
Yeah, definitely. In the last couple of years, me driving it wise, I'm driving it too much like a 2-wheel drive, not getting after the throttle fast enough. So we're trying to pound it through my head all winter to be fast. And then the first show we get to try to do it, you had to change it and slow back down like you were so you don't blow the tires off. So that was in my mind, it's kind of disappointing, that part of it, because I'm trying to get faster. Now it screws you back up because you go out and make a beautiful pass, and now that's back in your head that's what works. Well, that works that day, but it doesn't work on a normal track. So now I got to get back into the tune of doing what we were planning on doing all winter.
Kenzie, do us a favor. Go ahead and throw up the Sweet Pain comment one more time. This is something I think we need to touch on as well. So Sweet Pain pulling team, they're reaching out here, congratulating you. Great job, Doug, Doc, and the rest of the Christensens. There's probably a specific reason that these guys are rooting so hard for you. You guys and the Sweet Pain team, you're full 100% wedge motor. Your team Chevy through and through. So not only are you getting this done at your hometown track, first Grand National win, you're not running 4 Hemis like those other guys. You're sticking with the Chevy with the wedge type motors. Talk to us about, why do you prefer that power plant? Same as that Sweet Pain team. I mean, those guys, they crank them as hard as anybody. They know you can win with them. Tell us about your loyalty to your engine brand there.
We've had Chevrolets forever. Basically that's what we pretty much started out with. You start to get all the spare parts, so it's so hard to, it's definitely being different, but if you try switching, it's hard to switch everything, almost impossible. So then you would have one vehicle that's different than everything else. So that changes your setup for everything. The Hemi, you're running it definitely way different than you do a Chevrolet. Chevrolet's got more low end torque than the Hemi does, so it changes everything. So if you got one Hemi and the rest of Chevrolets, you're not learning anything off your second vehicle.
So walk us through some of the stuff you do to your Chevys to hang with the Hemis. I mean, it's not just any other motor that you pulled out of your grandpa's truck.
Right. It's the biggest thing we've got to. We're definitely not making the horsepower they are. We can't run the RPMs they are. So we have to hit our setup right on the money and drive like we need to drive in order to compete with them.
And you talk setup. Let's talk Friday night to Saturday night. Everyone was talking about track conditions Friday, and then it comes back around Saturday. Talk us through some of that.
Well, the biggest thing, we're being the first run out in the season, we're planning on having the motors fairly rich to begin with, to be on the safer side. That hurt us a little bit the second day because I wanted to be somewhat close on the fuel for the first day and then get even closer for the second day for the performance wise. So it backs you up a little bit because you're detuning it for that first session. And now you don't have that first session to get you really close like I wanted to be, but because you don't want to go over the edge, especially the first couple passes of the year.
Let's go ahead and take a look at some of those passes. It's a great question, Logan. We're talking about changes from Friday to Saturday. Kenzie, go ahead and give us the Friday night run. And then, Doug, you can kind of just tell us, how you drove it and what you see when you look at this right here. Smooth as glass, A to B. Tell us about it.
Basically, I drove it like I have been driving it the last couple of years on the slower side, but it very smooth, no hop at all coming out of the gate. So it just hooked up, and as soon as I opened it up, it just launched it and took off. Front end was balanced perfect. We were just off the ground, so it was getting the most drawbar we could.
Did your throttle? You talked about wanting to get into the throttle more quickly, more aggressively this season. That was one of the adjustments you were wanting to make. But then you said, on Friday night, the track wasn't going to take it. Did you find a happy medium, or did you go back and drive it as slowly as you would a two-wheel drive?
Pretty much. I went back and was driving it the way I was last year. So it, definitely had to get it back into my mind and not to overdrive it and blow the tires off. And so it was hard to do. Because I was trying to pound it in my head to drive fast. And, I couldn't do that on Friday.
The one thing you've been working on all winter long, the day of the pull, you've got to throw out, you've got to kind of call an audible and get rid of the playbook and go back to what you know. But that's got to be kind of fun because it all works out for you, when that comes around right there like that. Saturday night, how'd you feel about your run? Obviously the results were very different all the way across the class. Would you have changed anything, or is that just how pulling goes sometimes?
Definitely disappointed wise. The track was a lot drier than or extremely dry compared to on Friday. So when I ran, I think it was too early in the class. I needed to drive it. Still think I needed to drive it harder than I did, but it just felt as I was opening the throttle, it went away. So it's luck of the draw.
Yeah.
It would have been nicer to be later in the class. As it got later in the class, they were driving it harder and faster on the throttles.
Where'd you hook Friday in the hook order?
Friday we hooked sixth.
And at what point did it kind of start creeping into your brain? We got a shot at winning this doggone thing. There's always a lot of mods coming after you. Was there a point in there where you kind of thought, hey, we might walk away with a win tonight?
It was a lot of hope that we had it, because we've done good on these marginal tracks. Dodge City, Kansas, went down there with a tooler and one down there. Toma a couple of years ago when it was a little bit greasier, we ended up second or third with the mod. So we've been able to match the horsepower to the more marginal tracks where the other guys will blow their tires off. So we just got to do our thing. Is when the tracks are marginal, we can do a good job if we do everything else right.
That's one of those where you've got the opportunity. It's just a matter of capitalizing on it. And so after your run, you had to have felt like, hey, the weight was perfect, the balance was perfect. I capitalized on it. It had to be a pretty good feeling. It sounds like the stars kind of aligned right there.
Well, definitely a good feeling, but just sit back there and watch the next 5 or 6. That's really hard because, just like Rockwell last year, made a really good pass and sitting up there, but then a couple guys started creeping by us. Like, we weren't sitting at number 1 down at Rockwell, but it's hard sitting back there watching those guys coming. They're tough competition, so they got a good chance to just roll right on by us.
So let's talk some of the future stuff. Are you guys running NTPA the rest of the season, chasing points, or what's kind of your guys' plan?
Good question.
Yeah, we're definitely running Grand National points all season with the mod, and then we're running region points with the two-wheelers.
Okay. You talk two-wheelers versus mods. Which one you like more?
Oh, definitely the mod. Two-wheel drive is way slow.
Well, we talk way slow. What about if we stick you in a mini rod? How about that?
I don't have no interest in no mini rod.
No.
I watched Dad get his head hit in the roll cage, and I hit my head in our mod a couple times already. It ain't no fun. I know I got the seatbelts better in there now, so I hopefully ain't moving around when you get a rough ride. So that try to keep the head off the roll cage. It doesn't do you no good.
Logan, you ever get banged around in the seat of yours? What's the wildest one you've taken in your mini?
Really, I've been pretty lucky. We've been relatively tame with our setups, and we haven't had a rough ride at all. So I've been really lucky with all that. Probably the roughest ride I've had is in a two-wheeler.
Tell us about that. When did you hop into a two-wheeler?
We have had a two-wheeler over the past few years, and it recently just went out to California. But shoot, put me on the spot. I can't remember. But got behind two-wheeler and had a mag issue while the front end was 4 foot up in the air, and it drops you right on your nose. So it's one of those deals. But no, driving a mini to a mod to a two-wheeler is 100% completely different things.
Yeah, definitely.
Doug, while we're on it, so you don't want to get banged around in a mini rod. I don't want to get banged around in any of them. A microphone has more than enough horsepower for me just as it is. What's your wildest two-wheel drive ride you've taken, and what's your wildest mod ride you've taken?
Well, a wild one, we've had years back that sleds, sometimes they'll get the two-wheelers hopping on the other end, and I was actually hopped on the end of the track and actually bruised my tailbone bottom of the seat because the seats are so close to our drive shaft going through there, and actually landed on that drive shaft and bruised the tailbone. So that was bad.
Yep.
That was a bad summer. There ain't no good way around that.
Well, and then once you're bruised, that probably doesn't feel real good trying to climb back into the seat the very next day and weekend after weekend to hop back up on the pony, you know?
Driving wasn't no problem. You just totally ignore that. It's riding around in a semi going down the road.
Yeah, sure.
Walking around is no problem. With a two-wheeler, you just totally ignore it. You're just gone off your mind. But
You had
riding
no
down the
idea.
road, that was terrible.
You had no idea Minnesota had that many potholes until you were in that position. So you've got 4 two-wheel drive trucks, 1 4-engine modified. That's at least 8 blown injected Chevys right there. Surely you got some extras laying around in the shop somewhere. How many V8 supercharged Chevys would we find in the Christensen shop if we walked into it at any given time?
We've got 12 or 13.
All running and ready to go at all points in time?
Well, no, they're not all ready to go yet. We're still finishing one up for our S10 right now. We got put together, so we're ready for our next regional hook. Just ran out of time to get that one done.
How does one come to have a collection that large? And what's it take to keep that many of them freshened and tuned up and ready to go?
Well, the biggest thing is we don't normally sell much, you know.
Sure.
Back rat. You
I
so
say there's the name. We had someone asking about the name. There
No.
it is, right there.
in the past wise, we had lots of cast iron Chevrolets, you know, so we typically didn't sell them. So we'd always have something as a spare sitting there, you know, so if we blow something up, especially in a tractor it was harder with two-wheel drives because you put a 14 on top of it. A lot of the motors were spares out of tractors. We stepped that up, you know, so you put a 14 on it, it really makes it talk, you know, but it's, you know, and now we've got pretty much everything we got are all aluminum KB Olds blocks or a single dart block, Rodak block, that type of thing, but they're all aluminum. Mainly the tractor wise, you don't have enough movable weight if you have a cast iron motor in it. They're just way too heavy.
How many people do you have working on your crew, driving, you know, different vehicles or wrenching or, you know, driving semi-truck from spot to spot? Talk to us about, you know, how big your team is.
Semi-driving is me and my dad. Two-wheel drives wise, right now my sister's driving that silver T-bucket. My nephew Tegan is driving the blue T-bucket. My dad will be driving the red one this summer. I'll be driving the purple one. And then typically I'm driving the mod right now. Prior to that, the red one was my nephew Jordan was driving the red one, red S10. You know, my brother-in-law Rick started out driving the silver one. As we're building that silver one, Kim happened to get pregnant when she was supposed to start driving it, so he ended up driving it the first year, and then she took off after that. You know, and that whole time, that was what, in 2007 we built that one, I believe.
So we talk mods, two-wheelers, and that all day. Have you looked at a class and say that would be fun just to take one trip down the track in, or if you could build another vehicle that wasn't a mod or a two-wheeler, what would you jump into?
A couple of times I had a small chance of driving a super stock, you know, Elke super stock, but it never happened. Yeah. You know, I've driven 4-wheel drive modified trucks before. I drove Dean Turnings quite a few times. You know, when he couldn't get there, we would actually drive his rig to the show and drive it and bring it back home and park in his yard.
What do you like about a 4-wheel drive truck, and what do you not like about it when you compare it to a two-wheeler or a mod?
It's boring compared to a two-wheel drive. Darn front ends on the ground. You get to steer it. What challenge is that?
Kinsey, I can see Kinsey laughing in the background. I'm a huge 4-wheel drive truck fan. That's my favorite class. And she and everyone else tells me, you know, Mike, come on. They're naturally aspirated, 4 on the ground. I get it. So she's having fun because you're siding with everybody here. No, I think taking one of those two-wheelers down the track, that's a class that is really, really growing on me. I think that would be a phenomenal rush. How many? So you got 4 of them now, plus the mod. Is that the most you've ever had at one point in time, or have you had even more of that at any given point?
Nope, that's most we've had at one time of our own.
And are they just numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, or what's your pack rat, naming system?
Nope, 1 and 2 are gone. 1 and 2 we basically parted that out. Number 2 that ended up getting sold to Ricky Rose.
Okay.
Number 2 did. 3 is my same chassis I've got for number 6, which I was at Corvette. We took the Corvette body and converted it into a T-bucket. We changed the frame since then, but it's basically the same frame, just put new in it. Then we got the number 5, which is the blue T-bucket. Number 4 would be the tractor, and number 8 would be our red S10.
We got 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8. We have a 7.
Would be the 7 would be the silver one.
Yeah. That's a lot to keep track of.
We go 3 through 8. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and they're all Roman numerals too, if I remember right.
Except for the tractor. The tractor we have number 4 written on it. Just so happens the guy that was painting it didn't stay in our theme.
Oh, really? Here, we're gonna see. Yeah, right there. See.
We had him paint our family crest on the fenders.
Was this a surprise? Was it supposed to be, the Roman numeral, and it came back accidentally with the number 4?
It was supposed to be a Roman numeral, but the guy was painting it, airbrushing it here, and we just let him do what he was doing, and that's how he did it.
So
I believe
it kind of stands out.
We did most of the other airbrushing, like on our Corvette, we rat on the front end of it.
The family crest, that was always a neat one too. I mean, to me, the vehicle is insanely recognizable. It's one of those that you walk to a track, you say Christensens are here, that mod stands out. The crest, that's not a common theme in pulling. I mean, you see a lot of same stuff done again and again. Tell us about what inspired this, or is there some big meaning? I mean, are you guys long lost German royalty that we're not aware of or something?
Dad picked that out. Dad had that. That wanted that painted on it.
It's a sharp looking mod, and you said it's all painted too. In the world where everything's gone wrap, this is a full paint job.
Yeah. Basically, we've been able to keep these fenders without too much damage since we built it in '91. So the fenders are basically original. The paint-wise, we've never had to. It's got a few dents in it now, but we haven't had to replace it or anything like that.
While we're scrolling pictures, I'd be remiss if I didn't show this one. Chandler, who works here at the Bear Money Pulling Team, is just has a phenomenal eye for photography and pulling. And I just loved this shot right here. Zooming in on the eyes, you've got your face shield up. What's going through your mind right now? This is, obviously post run, and I think this is even post Friday night. Zooming in on that focus, what are you thinking in this photo right here?
Was that Saturday or was that Friday?
Friday night.
That looks like Friday.
Just couldn't, Dad and Tegan were going, elated on the sidelines wise, you don't, on the seat wise, you really don't, you're so concentrated on making sure you're staying straight on the track. You're really not paying attention how far you're going. You're just trying to go as far as you can. So you really don't realize until you come to a complete stop and look around and try to figure out where the heck you're at on the, you're past the leader flag. So you don't see that. So you really don't know how much farther you went past them. It was a fast ride.
Yeah. It was a beautiful pass. Love looking at that one with you. Well, we're running right at about our time right now. Want to give you just an absolute congratulations. First Grand National win, does it with the quad Chevys, the Sweet Pain guys. I know that they're, sticking their chest out because you Chevy guys, you're big believers in this. And that's kind of winning one, for the underdogs out there. So really fun story. Grand National win, hometown track, doing it with the unique power plant. I'm just going to turn it over to you. anybody that you would like to thank or any acknowledgments, the floor is yours and you can say whatever you want to say, Doug.
Biggest thing, we got to thank Paul Gillen with Justice Brothers, our local distributor up in the Midwest. They've been with us since 1974. They've been with us this whole time through good years, bad years, always with us. Not a huge sponsor, but some financial and then products. That's been great with working with them. Sempico, they're definitely help us out. All the family, we definitely can't do it with everybody. If everybody's with, we got 19 people with. If my brother and his kids and stuff start going with, but they've got brother used to drive also, so he was, he's got kids in sports wise, so that's what he's concentrating on. He was out helping me at Hutch with the rest of the team up over in Ellsworth. Mom always with us, almost at every event, if not at every event. So it's just so much fun with the family.
Revere Welding.
We got Revere Welding with Adam.
That's a nephew.
That's my cousin. He helps us out a lot. Anything we need welded. He was out at Hutch, broke a header on ours and just takes it, welds it up. It does anything we need and more. It's big help.
Takes a lot keeping 13, blown Chevys in line and doing what they need to be doing. Just congratulations, man. Super cool story. Picking up the win. Keep it rolling, chasing the GN points in the mod, and you've got all 4 of those two-wheelers in region. Are you guys region 3? Is that where you're at in Minnesota?
Yep,
so region 3. How many championships do you have in region 3 over the years?
We just go to them all.
I know there's got to be myself. There's got to be at least 5. I believe.
What's that?
Championships.
Oh yeah.
At least 5 or 6. I'd have to go up in my bedroom and I got all the plaques for the old ones. Wise to be able to count them through. But
I have a goal for Logan. Logan, your goal as a puller is one day in the future, when somebody asks you, how many points championships do you have? You're supposed to go, oh, I've lost it. Too many to count off the top of my head. If you're ever in a position where you say, I got to go upstairs and count my trophies, that's the position you want.
It's always so hard, with if there's years that I couldn't do it. There's years we finished 1-2 with me and my brother with the blue tea bucket, so it's a lot of fun. We're competing against ourselves. We want to beat them, but also especially my goal wise when I'm helping out running against our other T buckets or our other vehicles. Personally, I expect them, if they pull after me, they better beat me, because if I'm doing my job and they're driving right, they should beat me.
One last thing before you run here, where can people catch you next? Are you running Farley with the two-wheelers next weekend, or what's your next event?
Nope, we'll be at Toma next.
Cool.
Tegan Moore says 18 two-wheel drive championships total. That's incredible. Doug, thank you so much for coming on. The Pack Rat team is something that you almost can't go to a big pull or even the regional pulls. You can't go to an NTPA pull and not bump into you guys doing something. You're great for the sport. You've been great for the sport for a long time. Congrats on your Grand National win in the modified. Best of luck in the rest of your 2025 season, and thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much for having us.
You betcha. Have a great All right. How cool is that, folks? That was Doug Christensen with the Pack Rat for picking up his first Grand National win in the modified as hometown pull, Hutchinson, Minnesota. That's one that you need to go to. We're going to shift from NTPA and Region 3 NTPA over to Badger State tractor pulling and Champions Tour PPL. You know what, Logan, what I accidentally did, this is totally by mistake. We're going to hit all 3 major associations tonight just by a happy accident. Doug came on here, won at Hutch. We're going to talk to him here in just a second. We're going to talk about the Mackville Nationals. Mega pull that you're going to want to attend. Badger State and PPL. And then we're going to end the night with Mr. Anderson coming on here, telling us about his run out there in the Outlaw Ravenna. So we got the trifecta in here, a happy little accident. Rodger Baum is going to join us, and he's going to tell us about Mackville. They've got some important stuff we need to go over. Let's go ahead and bring them on board right now. New location. Rodger, thank you for joining us tonight. If you are on your cell phone, I'm going to have you do a quick trick for me. If we could turn it this way, it should automatically fill our screen for us if it rotates. Oh, it's not going to rotate for us. We might just have to put it back there. That'll be just fine. Rodger and Waylon Baum, how we doing tonight, guys? Thank you for joining us on the Let's Grow Pulling podcast. How's everything going in your location?
Good. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, absolutely. Where are you joining us from tonight? I see trophies in the background. I can't tell if we're in a shop, a trophy room, at the local watering hole. Where are we hanging out at?
Actually, in our shop, our little at Baum Machine, we have a little area where we work on tractors and stuff. And so this is our just having to sit down here. It's a place where I can kind of work on tractors while we're doing business at the same time, and have some guys here that work for us, just building stuff. So it's all good.
Awesome. Mackville Nationals coming up right around the corner. Jason Schultz, I was talking to him, prepping for the show yesterday, and he said, this one is one that everybody needs to pay attention to. He says this is a pull that helped him learn. And if you're in pulling, you know who Jason Schultz is. He said this was a pull that helped him learn what promotion is. That he says that you guys do such a phenomenal job, bringing this great quality, show to the public. Give us a rundown right here, Mackville. What do people need to know? Talk to us about that change in location. What's going on this weekend?
Well, yeah, we moved it to our county fairgrounds here in Outagamie County. We had some issues with we needed to leave our diocese, our parish. It's always been at our parish up in Mackville, Catholic parish, and we just the diocese kind of wanted us to move on. There's some insurance reasons and the liability reasons there. It's getting big and maybe a little too big, and our areas for parking is getting dwindling too with the housing going on in the area and stuff. So it was a good fit to go to our fairgrounds, and we've had pulls there. We do the county pull there as well every year, and so it's just a place we could go. And in Seymour, Wisconsin, it's like 15 miles and 15 to 18 miles north of where where Mackville was. So it was a pretty good, easy decision where to go with it, and they really invited us to be there. They're looking for some more people seeing the grandstands and seeing the fairgrounds. I'd probably never been to the fairgrounds in this area. There's a lot of people that just come from the city and from Appleton and Green Bay, and just don't get a chance either to go to the fair and they have racing every Friday night, oval dirt track racing, third mile stock cars and stuff like that every Friday night. So they're trying to see it be a win-win as far as getting more people out to the fairgrounds and enjoy our pull besides just being there.
So I want to make sure that we're saying this right to all the fans. The Mackville Nationals are being held in Seymour. The name of the town is Seymour at
Correct.
The county fairgrounds. Outagamie, am I saying that correctly?
Yes.
At the Outagamie County Fairgrounds. But to hear you, the way you talk about it, big grandstand, big area. The pull is just a reflection of just how much the pull has grown. You basically grew into a bigger area. Is that a kind of a easy way to say it?
Yes, it would be. Yep. It's like I said, it's our bleachers really have so much land, and and really going so high with the bleachers that we had at Mackville and like 15 high on each side, and they're full. We really can't do anything more, so we're limited to our occupancy, and so this does open us up more, definitely for more room for spectators, and then parking and such. We used to have to park down the road, and now we're and different area. People walk for quite a ways to get there, and we hire buses and bring people in. Now this is all right on the grounds. There's like 50 acres there with the track and all, and a lot of pit area, and again, just parking for the spectators and such without having to drive or bus anybody in and stuff like that. And it's been growing. We've been keeping it going every year, and after 49 years, it was hard leaving. Don't get me wrong. It was hard leaving the parish as the facility, because everybody put their time and energy into making every year a little better, and building our own little pulling world there, but it's the way things go. You have to move on, and we didn't want to stop, and we have the support of our parish, all the parish members. It's been really good support. That's really what really kept it. If I couldn't get that kind of people helping out, that that would have been really tough. Then not to just give up, but just doing it. They're up there tonight. A lot of the people were tonight working and getting this switched over. So it's well worth it. It's not only for our parish, but the whole community. I think looks forward to this event. It's just like I say, going on so long. There's a lot of grandpas and fathers and young kids, and it's based for the whole family. A good place to come.
And coming quick it is, starting here in just a couple days on Thursday night. How's everything shaping up with the grounds, the track, and more importantly, how's the weather looking?
Well, it's a little wet up there. We had rain last night and yesterday, late in the day. And a shower here and there today, kind of off and on. But tomorrow looks real good. Wednesday looks real good. So we should get everything, the track dried up. I'll get a tarp on the whole track, carpet over. So they are talking chances of some rain Thursday, Friday, but we'll get it covered. So if it does, we can get it open it back up. We have to, and whenever. At least we won't be working with a wet track, and then we can add water to it and make what we want to do for the track. But it's going to get covered up. As like say, Wednesday after we have a really good day on Wednesday, Tuesday and Wednesday of drying out. And so we'll be prepared for it. We've seen it before, and so it's what you got to do. It's Mother Nature in Wisconsin. You just never know in June. It could be what could bring. And the weather might have been wrong many times probably than right. So hopefully this is one of those that's, they say percentage, and maybe it'll be in northern Wisconsin or something, further north or further south or whatever. You just never know. These showers, they can pop up anywhere, and hopefully they miss us.
Yeah, that's summertime pulling. You're prepared with the tarp. All you can do is cross your fingers and work with what you can. We saw some miracles pulled off this last weekend in both Hutchinson and Ravenna. Never count anything out. And fans, that goes to you. I want fans to think about that. Just because you see rain in the forecast, don't say, oh, well, we're not going to the pool. It's going to get rained out. Or, oh, it's raining at noon. We'll go see a movie or something. It really is remarkable. It was what I wrote my article about today, what these track prep crews can get done. I've kind of got this new saying that says if it's not raining at pull time, there's a chance we can go pulling. So fans always, assume that there is going to be a pull, because that's really a bummer when the track crew does work their tails off and you have a great show, but the fans saw a forecast 24 hours ago and thought, oh, it's going to rain, we're going to stay home. So, don't fret about the weather too much, fans, because with this modern stuff that they're doing, more likely than not, pulling can happen. Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, 3-night show. Thursday night's going to be kind of a different show than Friday and Saturday. Walk us through what we have going on each night.
Okay. Do you want to talk?
Dragon. Yeah. Thursday night we start off with more of like hot farm based classes. Sanctioned through NEW Motorsports and Tri-County Mini Rides. We have some truck classes too, and some semis as well. And it's more of our local guys. Kind of helps get the track going for the weekend. And then on Friday and Saturday night we have Badger State and Pro Bowling League. I think you can see the classes on the poster there. But for PPL, we have the light pro stocks and super farms, the pro modified 4-wheel drive trucks, and the heavy super stocks. Kind of capitalizing on classes that aren't at Farley, and so I think we should have a good turnout on equipment and stuff. So it should be a good show. So
I like what you said right there. That's a smart play, and that's a good way to think about it, because there's a lot of fans of those classes, and it's kind of like, hey, if it's not at Farley, obviously this weekend a lot of eyes are going to be on Farley. But if your class isn't at Farley, there's a good chance it's up at Mackville, so don't think that, they're not pulling anywhere. As a matter of fact, I watched a 4-wheel drive truck load onto a trailer that is headed your way no less than about an hour and a half ago. I was over in Macon, Missouri, and Mr. Cody Lewis was getting everything buttoned up and ready to go. He's going to be up there this weekend with his fired up truck. That's a good lineup of classes just on the Champions Tour side. But those Badger State vehicles, those are heavy hitters as well. Tell us about some of them that are going to be pulling with you this weekend.
yeah, we got the 2-wheel drive trucks, light limited super stock tractors, the 3.6 diesel trucks. I think that's it for Badger State. But yeah, it should be a very good variety show. And we're looking forward to it all. So,
what time do gates open every night? What's it cost to get in? Do we need a pit pass? Tell the fans everything they need to know to make sure that they're armed and ready to have the best time possible.
Yeah, the gates open at 2 hours before the post starts. So on Thursday and Friday night, it's a 7:00 show, so it's open at 5. Sunday or Saturday, then it's a 6:00 show, so they open at 4. $25 for adults, and yeah, we have veterans and senior citizen discount, $5 at left, so it's $20 for the veterans and senior citizens, and then kids 11 to 15 or $10, and 10 and under are free. Yeah, it's we try to keep it affordable for the families to come, and we do this thing called Dash for Cash. I don't know if you ever heard of that. Is where we throw a bunch of money out at. Well, we put tarps out on the track, and then we get all these little kids from 14 or 12 and under come out in like 3 different groups, and they go out and we throw $1,000 worth of coins out on the track, and they go grabbing that, and yeah, it's unreal to see 300, 400, 500 kids out there at one time just going crazy after these coins, and it's a traditional thing we've done every year, and it's called the Dash for Cash, and so it's a fun thing to break up the night a little bit to get the kids out running around and having fun.
You'll see the kids moving faster than some of the tractors going down the track, and that I like traditions like that. That's every pull, the big ones and the special ones, there's that unique thing that people kind of associate or they affiliate with them. It's cool to see traditions going like that. Logan, were you starting to say something, buddy?
I was just going to follow up on some of the fan amenities stuff. How about for some guys coming further out of town? You guys have camping up there, or are there hotels local, or what's some of that looking like?
Yep, we have free camping. There's not electric, but it's all open camping is free. It's right on the grounds. There's plenty of room for that. We did have a block of rooms at the Oneida Casino in Green Bay. There was a block of rooms available. I think they might be used up by now, but I'm sure there's plenty of rooms. Green Bay is like 18 minutes from Seymour as well, and there's all kinds of hotels. With the Packer games and all this stuff, there's tons and tons of hotels and restaurants and such. Nothing right in the town of Seymour, but Pulaski's in our town. It's about the same distance away. There's a couple hotels there. But Green Bay definitely, and Appleton is as well. Appleton's same thing, 18 to 20 miles away. There's rooms everywhere. There's nothing really going on this weekend that I know of any other events. A lot of times they have big concerts and stuff, but nothing like that is going on in the area this weekend. So there should be plenty of room for people to get hotels and such.
Yep. So I've never been to Mackville, and I know Michael talks about tradition and some other stuff. Do you guys have like an award for the winners? Like Bowling Green has a ring, Hillsboro has a belt buckle. Do you guys have anything that's special, memorable, something just a little different, or is it just a good old fashioned handshake and a congratulations?
Well, yeah, we talked to Waylon and I both talked about that. We do have this plaque that we give out. It's just it's actually our sponsor plaque. It's just says it's something you can hang up in your trailer or a man cave or something like that. It's like our poster the poster you see there, except you take the lineup of the classes off of it and blow up our sponsor group a little bigger and pull in for the community is what it says on it. And we give one of those away and a case of Busch Light. So we do get a case of beer. The winners do.
Who needs a ring or a belt buckle? You can't do anything with that, man. You can drink a case of Busch Light. That's what I'm talking about right there. This is a tractor pull where you get beer, and it used to be on a Catholic parish. This is like everything that I'm about, all in one thing. This is incredible. How did you guys find yourself promoting this pull? How long have you been the one at the helm doing this?
I actually pulled in this bow when I was 16, so it was back in 1975. But as far as promoting it, probably the last 15 to 20 years have been really involved with it quite a bit more. And just it's in our blood. We pull tractors, so it's pretty easy for us to get involved. It's not a baseball game or a soccer game. This is something that we do every day. We think about tractor pulling all year round, and like I said, we're in our pulling shop here and stuff. So, and Waylon, he's, my son, and, I have 2 sons and 3 daughters, and my wife gets involved, to helping out with the cooking or, serving food and stuff, but like that. And, so it's been pretty good for us. It's a fun sport for us as a family, and, just continue it on and then helping. We do help with the fair. We have a pull there as well. 2 weeks later, the fair goes on at the same location now, and we involved big with that as well. A farm pull one night, and then another NEW motorsport pull as well, and then another actually another pull and later in the year in Freedom we do promote another pull as well there too. So it's a busy summer for us and in the pulling world with us. So. This made sense, to us, for us to, to be the people to keep it rolling here and go to enough different polls to see how, watch how other people make, have to run their polls and take note of things. And let's try that. It makes sense. And not be afraid to try things too, that when you do stuff, make a change, and if it works out, it works out. That's the part of the 49 years at Mackville. It was it was a lot of years of, gaining experience and or learning, how to make things, get the food out in front of the people or get the beer, we can really make some sales if you keep everybody happy and not letting them go home and stop at McDonald's on the way home and eat, that kind of thing. So it helps.
What are some of the best parts or the most rewarding parts of being a promoter to the sport you love? And what are some of the hardest or the unseen challenges? What do you love about it and what's tough about it?
Well, I love it when you see the grandstands full and
sure. Butts in seats.
That's that's the biggest thing, and you get compliments from people and sponsors, get more sponsors that you've never, people calling you up and say, hey, we want to sponsor your event, and that's a good feeling that. And we're very fortunate for that, and that we don't have to be hunting down sponsors, and it's just really makes them feel good, and you must be doing something right, and and yeah, the people come back every year. You get these calls from people that, like I said, have their grandpa, their dads there, or their great, then they bring their little kids along, and then they have the dad, and then you got the grandpa, and maybe a great grandpa, and all. They've been here, it's going on 50 years, 49 this year. Would have been 50, it wasn't for COVID. So you got that long, all these families that have been coming, and it started as a little parish pull. It just started as a little, guys, get your tractor, neighborhood, get your tractors all, and let's hook on a sled, and so it's grown to a really pretty nice, and we're fortunate just to have a church that was willing to stand behind it all these years to let us do this, and hard to leave that, but it's part of life. We have to move on, and if it's not working, if we can't. That's the day the IAC, or the world is with the insurances and stuff like that. That's what really came down to it is with the lawsuits and stuff that can happen out there. That just puts a pretty tough. How it is these days, pretty tough.
You talked about sponsors, and I can see several on your banner down there, and I know how important sponsors are for just a single poll or even a whole association. Why don't you take a moment and just acknowledge as many sponsors as you'd like. We're spot on for time. We're not rushing for time too much. So I'm going to turn it over to you, and if you need to give some sponsors some shout out, go right ahead.
Well, I don't have the list actually right in front of me. I can't really read that. I'm sorry. I should have had it slipped in front of me.
That's complete. No, it's the one question in polling as an interviewer. I always, you hate to say, who do you need to thank for being here and who's been behind you? Because the minute you ask someone that, they'll say, I've got 1,000 of them. And if I try to say them all right now, I'm going to leave somebody off. So, but
right.
Folks, you can see it right here on the poster. Sponsors are an integral part. And like you said, you're doing something right when they're calling you. What advice would you give to a new promoter? If someone was getting out there, if Logan and I decided tomorrow we were going to, start the state line showdown right on the Missouri-Kansas line, and we were going to promote a pull, what advice would you give to new promoters out there?
I'd probably start kind of small. Don't overbook. Small steps. Don't overbook it's to me anyways. I mean, that's just because. That's why I run my business as well too. I started pretty small and grow a day, every year, and that. I hate to see something go and then you get a sour taste, and the sour taste in a lot of people's mouth without, if it didn't turn out right, the way you expected, weather and everything could draw and then you don't want to start in a hole or without be out of money before you make anything, and that's to me that's kind of my. Whether it's my business or if it's something like this, I do run this kind of like my business. I try to, because it is, and especially when you're working with other people, we're working with the parish, money and stuff. That's what this is going for. Isn't just a free for all, and it's what I want to see. What I want everybody to see or to enjoy and stuff. And so that's why we try to, even with the classes, we try to break it up so we have a lot of variety, not just all diesel and all. There's people like diesel tractors, there's people like the trucks. Try to nice variety to try to please everybody, or try to keep everybody gets their chance of what they like to see it. And it's that's just coming from what I got thoughts are, and but it's been working for us. Yeah.
So it started off as, a smaller pull at the local parish. It's now out at the county fairgrounds, Champions Tour classes. You've been integral to the development of this. People know Mackville. It's one of those, you don't have to say the state behind it. You just say, we're going to Mackville this weekend. Where would you like to see this pull go 10 or 20 years from now? If you could say, here would be my vision, or here's what I'm hoping for, what would it look like in the future?
I think we'd maybe picking up some bigger sponsors. Besides, I will say I have there's 4 big ones, and Jody Noble, sewer and construction, and Trico, Bill Rasbeck. He's been with us. He's got a construction company, and he supplied all their equipment. And Bush Lade, I wanted to at least say those 3 at least, without they're really huge sponsors. But that is. I would like to see that kind of thing, if we could land some more, now that we're at fairgrounds, I think there's a little bit more site for growth in that area, where there's the parish was great, but I think it was maybe people didn't really want to maybe get involved with having to being at a parish or whatever. And I think this is actually opening up, and we really see some other larger sponsors that come through, which is huge. It'd be, I'm just, as I think during the day, maybe we should talk to these people or these other outfits that might want to be at it now. There's a lot more exposure being at a fairgrounds, and I think that's got we got something to work at with that kind of deal. That's one of the things that to see, and
right, with the bigger sponsors, then we'd have more potential of maybe some bigger classes too, and maybe some growth that way, but
yeah, and the facility is really good. I mean, it's a racetrack, but it's they have inside. We have a track that's it's not racing you're not pulling on the racetrack. It's separate from the it's just inside the oval.
Yeah.
So it'll be stuff to be at the fairgrounds or at this track. So there's gonna be some improvements to make things better. Definitely, it wasn't built for this pulling, so we'll be making that. And they're all open. The Fair Association, that's actually it's one of 3 fairs that's not owned by the county. This is actually owned by a fair association. So it's regular guys, me, just regular good old boys that are they want to see some people that have never been to the fairgrounds before to be here. So that's what they really invited us to move this pole there, and so it's a win-win for them, and that's what they're hoping to be a win-win, to get more people to this fairgrounds that never been, and along with the racers that race on Friday nights, that they're looking to get people to see the facility and to know that it's that close to home from Appleton or Green Bay. It's a nice place to come out and enjoy. It's a really beautiful facility.
Awesome. So to recap, go ahead.
I've always been told that Mackville is second to none, and if you ever have the chance to go to it, go to it. So maybe we'll have to get you guys set up with a Champions Tour mini class or something. But kind of rounding this out, what are you guys looking forward to the most for this weekend?
Good weather will be my best. Right now, there's no doubt. Good weather, which brings good crowds, right? And that's my biggest concern. Or right now. Yeah, you got to listen to the darn forecast. You can't get away without not listening hear it on the radio or hear it on throw the tube on, and so that is but I just and just get hopefully we got a lot of comments that they that being as I moved that it's hey we really like it. I'm sure there's gonna be some people are still gonna be wishes that it's still at where it was. There's no doubt. I myself do it away, but you had to move on with this world, with the way things go. So, no, it's just the big crowds and again, and nobody gets hurt or any issues like that, and then let's look forward for next year. If the weather doesn't want to cooperate, we've got this much closer, got this much better things already lined up that we've made the move, and a lot of things we had to form to make this happen as far as this within all the deals to make it happen. So, and that was a pretty good undertaking in the last 2 months, and so just then look forward to next year again.
Absolutely. Gates open 7:00 Thursday and Friday, 7:00 on Thursday. Via Motorsport. Go ahead.
No, I'd say 5:00 they open. The gates open.
Oh, gates open 5:00. Gates
Polling
open
at
5:00. Show starts 7:00. Yep. Gates open 5:00. Show starts 7:00 Thursday, Friday. Show starts 6:00 on Saturday, Friday and Saturday. Badger State tractor pullers and PPL Champions Tour classes. Rodger and Waylon Baum, thank you so much for joining us. It's a phenomenal pull. You guys are great people. Keep doing what you do. And let's grow pulling. Thanks for being on the show, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, guys. See ya.
Thank you. How cool was that? Logan, you are absolutely correct. You need to be pulling up in Mackville, and you need to take your mini rods up there. Looks like a great show. Looks like great people. That stuff gets me excited. Start small, grow it up big. It really is. Like if you say Mackville, people have heard of it. That's what we're looking forward to this weekend. That's the future. That's the near future. let's kick it back to the past. Kenzie, roll that tape. Let's go pulling through the past. All the way from the bustling metropolis of Green Top, Missouri. I tell you what, it's a town that you don't want to hit it at rush hour because I don't know if you'd ever find your way out of it. Go ahead and bring him on board right now, Mr. David Anderson. David, if your phone will flip for me, turn your phone this way. We'll see if it'll rotate and we can fill the screen. Some of them do. There we go. Got the full big screen on here now. Green Top, Missouri. Can't even hardly get through that place, can you? Big town up there, right?
Well, yeah. Quite a metropolis.
David,
it's about like.
Go ahead. I keep jumping over you.
I said it's about like Bavaria. It's quite a.
Hey, man, but I'm from La Plata originally, so I did start off in a slightly bigger town, So, but no, we're having fun here. David, he lives just up the road, a couple of towns north of me, up there in Adair County. I'm down here in Macon County. Thanks for joining us tonight. This is Pulling Through the Past. This is a segment where I go through some of my old personal pictures of pulling vehicles. And I try to track down where's the vehicle, where's the driver, what's going on, where did they go. Fun one here because we definitely have a vintage pulling vehicle, but this weekend it came back out with a whole new setup. And boy, oh boy, David, you got to be pretty pleased with how that tractor ran in Ravenna this weekend, aren't you?
Oh, I am. I'm thrilled to death. You change everything like that and do just from front to back and bottom to top, and you just don't know what's going to happen. And we was a little heavy on the nose, trying to be a little conservative, but it was a nice ride. I was very pleased.
Would you rather show the folks where the tractor started? I'm going to leave this up to you. I'm going to let the guests choose tonight. Would you rather show them what it looked like originally, or would you rather show them first what it looks like now? I'll give you the pick.
I'll go back.
Let's go back. Okay, so this is from about 1985. I've got two pictures of it here, and you did not own it at this time. And I don't have any middle pictures, so maybe we're going to have to go hunting for those. This right here, 1985, and maybe you can help me, but I think this is Kirksville, Missouri.
Oh, it might be. I can't tell for sure from that, but yeah, that's sure the way she looked when we got it.
So this was, and help me say the last name. Is this Aylward? Is that how you pronounce his name?
Aylward.
Aylward. This is Lee Aylward. And yeah, I mean, this tractor, it looked a lot like this when you drove it for a long time. Tell us what you know about it sitting right here, and then give us its history. When did it come to you? What did you do to it then? What have you done to it since? I mean, this is kind of a neat ride right here.
Well, it's got a lot of history in our area, that's for sure. And the tractor was a 1975 model. It was bought by a couple of fellows over around Unionville, which one of those guys was Connie Mulnick's dad.
Oh, okay, sure.
They took it over to Arbela one night to tractor pull, and coming back home, wrecked the truck, and it fell off the truck and broke in 3 pieces. And then Lee bought it from the insurance company, as I understand it.
Okay.
And put it together as a pulling tractor. I don't know what year they wrecked it, probably 75 or 6. But they were pulling it in farm classes and stuff. So it's basically been a pulling tractor all of its life.
Uh-huh.
And then
okay.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, when did you buy it from Lee?
I bought it in 1990, the end of the year. And my first year was 1991 with it.
I've got another photo here. Now, this one comes from, I haven't met him in person. We talk on the internet a lot. Originally, I believe he's from Clarence or Shelbina. Now he lives up in the Des Moines area. Jim Harmon. I don't know if you've met or know Jim. He was a flagman for TPM back in the day, and he does a lot of antique promotion. So he's got kind of a blurry picture of it here, but he told me that this was the same one as well.
Right. looks like it. Yeah,
Yep.
the wheel weights on the back, and that's what they did back then. The tractor, 9,500 pounds is as light as I could go whenever I bought it. That's where Lee had it, and that's where we pulled it. I think the first year I went to Louisville, I thought it was, which was right after he pulled it one year. Well, in 91, he pulled it in Louisville, and then I pulled it there the next year. And I think 10.5, I think, was the class that I pulled it in. And if they had a 15,000 pound class, that's where he went with it.
So you've had it to Louisville. Did he take it to Louisville?
Yeah, it was kind of funny. Lee kind of got a little pneumonia and wasn't feeling well. And he was up in Bloomfield, Iowa in the hospital. So I went up to see him, and I had bought the tractor, and that was been, I don't know, late 90 or early 91. And Lee was talking, and we were, visiting, and he said, he just kept talking about Louisville. He said, I've got it entered in Louisville. And he said, oh, really? I said, really? Yeah. I said, well, that's a heck of a place to start, Lee. And he said, well, do you get nervous? I said, well, not so bad, but I can't see smoke. I've never ran that thing. It's kind of well, he just kept talking about it. And finally the light bulb went off. I said, do you want to pull it down there? And he looked at me and he said, I'd like to one more time.
Oh, so, that's neat. That's neat.
Just do that. We'll be there to help. And so 1991 in February is the last time Lee pulled the tractor. And then we brought it home to his house and tore it apart because the clutch, that was the year that SFI came into play and the clutch needed certified. And he said, I will get that done for you before you take it home. So I worked with him to do that. And we got it all put back together. And then we brought it to our house.
What kind of success did you have with it? I mean, this thing pulled from the 90s all the way up into, I can remember watching outlaw pulls on YouTube with the Masters of Entertainment group in 2015, 2000, late 20 teens, and you were still running it. Do you have a lot of success on it the way that it was set up through that time?
Yeah. Whenever I got it, I always had for a long time until Lee passed away. I had him for information. And
sure.
that was a lot of fun. Lee was a fun guy. He wouldn't start the conversation. You had to start it, but then he was very, very knowledgeable and fun to talk to. He'd sure visit with you, and he'd come over and help me work on it at my house once in a while, or I would need to take it over there for him to make it more convenient for him. But through I think I won the points in the 9,500 pound class of this TPM the first year. Mm-hmm. He always ran the open class, or not always, but quite a bit. And
sure.
That with TPM, and that was the 9,200 open, they called it. And the modifieds weighed 9,200 and the tractors weighed 10,000 pounds. And that old tractor always liked the weight. It would hunker sure. down. Right in there. I know one year, I think we had 4 of those hooks and I won all of them. And I didn't know you could do that at all running against twin engine blown modifieds, but it liked the weight and that made a lot of difference. So yeah, we had good success through there. Early 2000, after I'd lightened it, I don't even remember what year we lightened it now. I had to get down to 7,500 because they were just running out of 9,500 pound tractors.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we did, and it was a lot more of a learning experience then than it was originally. And where to put that weight and how to get it down the track and all that. But we had some luck. I don't know. I think 2000, maybe we were the outlaw open champion there, because that's when that open was the alcohols and the diesels running against each other. And so we've had some success along. We kind of run into some buzzsaws, whenever you got to run against good ones and
yeah.
Some of those, but I've always said, I've got that way you got somebody to shoot for. I know Dennis and Matt had the best that they could get, and if you could kind of run with them, you felt like you had a good night. So,
yeah, if you're running with Matt and Dennis Goodwin, I mean, you're definitely out there with truly some of the best of the best. I'm trying to pull up the all-time outlaw points champs and stats right now. Matt Goodwin's actually, I think he's like number 2 on the all-time list in the Outlaws. He's got like 10 national championships or something like that. And I was gonna pull yours up really quickly. So the tractor, here's how it started. And you didn't change looks wise. I mean, if I remember right, you kind of left the white side shields on it. It kind of looked like this, as far as presentation a lot of the time, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. I tried to stick with that, and I guess the main reason was to kind of keep it as a 1066 and Lee's old tractor, and that honestly, that is the reason that I never named it. We had Anderson Farms and my signature on there, but we really never had a name on it, and I just couldn't honestly think of anything to honor Lee the way I felt like I needed to, so I never put a name on it.
And Lee never named it either?
Oh, no, he never had a name on it. And I don't know if he even had his name on it. I mean, maybe a sticker where he'd certified weight or something, but I mean, that was really it. And so it was, but we had a lot of good tractors to run against back then. And like I said, if you come close, we felt like you had a good night, but it would do its share. I know Dennis and Goodwin and I, we split a few. Me and Matt did that whenever they didn't want to pull off. But back in those days, Illinois, Iowa, and Missouri is kind of where I tried to run, and they were all NTPA affiliated states. So anywhere you went was an NTPA hub.
Sure.
And Southern Iowa, there was a lot of them, and so we run into each other quite a bit. And of course, there's a lot of good pullers out of Illinois, and then Iowa, and we had quite a few good diesel tractors or super stocked as such in Missouri, and so it was a lot of fun. But like I said, I just never could think of a name that felt right until we built the new one, and I guess it's mine now. So
let's take a look at it. So it's people have been wanting, this is a very popular tractor. You're a very well respected, well thought of puller. People have been wanting to see you back out for a while. It was fun to watch the run that you had on Saturday night. We've got video of it now, folks. Before we play it, keep in mind, more or less, this is the same tractor, or at least it traces its roots there. Kenzie, let's see what it looks like now. Here's your winning pass from Saturday night in Ravenna, Nebraska. Tell us about everything that's changed from this picture to that video. Or tell us everything you changed from you last had it to what it looks like now.
Well, I may be giving away something that you'll want to use as a trivia question down the road, but and people have asked me, and the only thing that I can think of course, some of the stuff that I had, the seat and some of those things, the computer and my engine is the same as it was when I was last running the tractor. But the only thing that from the first picture to now that I can think of is the throttle handle.
Oh, okay. So we have the original throttle handle has stayed through the whole process.
When Ernie Connor kind of put it together for me, because I just don't have the machines to do what he can do, and we're not that far apart, as you well know.
Right. Yep.
He's creative and very, very sharp machinist, and he's willing to listen. So, and suggest some good suggestions. And so when we went to doing it, starting in, it started with an Engler chassis. I've had it sitting around for quite a while, and we finally decided we was going to have to build it. And we stiffened it up, done some things because Tim Engler had built it as a light super. He told her, and he said, "Don't let David put that in the heavy class. I built that as a light super."
Mm-hmm.
And I asked Ernie, I said, "What do you think?" And he said, "Well, Tim overbuilds everything. But we can do some things." So he suggested some things, and I suggested some things. So we stiffened it up and made it stronger and heavy. And so I'm comfortable with it. Between those two guys doing what they do, I'm not afraid of the safety at all. And so that's what it is. And then the sheet metal, Ernie built that. Originally I was thinking about, when we went to the component, maybe going with a 1456. Well, after we decided we were going to build it, I thought, well, it's always been a 1056, so I don't want to change that. And he had already built the sheet metal, and that sheet metal was actually on the old cast chassis right at the end. And so he had to revamp it a little bit to get it to fit on the component. And that's what it is. Now I've got a local body shop that's painting it. Joneses are very, very talented. And he's not going to let it out of there until it's right. So I told him the other day, I said, "Brian, I got to go to Nebraska with that thing." He said, "Well, I'll epoxy the sheet metal, come and get it, put it on, and we'll go. You can take it." And I said, "Well, I'm going to oil it down probably." And he said, "Well, if I epoxy it, it'll clean off okay." So he said, just come and get it." So we did, and it's all fit back on there. We had to do a little tweaking to do that, but we found all the holes and got her on there. So that's epoxy. That's why it looks like it does. But I'm going to try to go back kind of to the old look if I can. It'll have the red grill, red hood, the white down the side. I may, on the graphics, whenever I put the horse on the side with the shoeing nails sticking out of his feet for the roughshod part, we're going to have some chrome vinyl on there if we can get it to look right. But it'll still have the cream or the white and the red, and it'll still be an old 1066. The best I can do for right now.
So you said it too. After all these years, after falling off the trailer and then getting bought from the insurance company and turned into a puller and having a historic last ride at Louisville, and now going through Engler and Connor, which, by the way, if you're going to build a new tractor, Tim Engler and Ernie Connor are a pair of names that I would not mind having work on my tractor. After all that, David, you've named it, and I love the name. We were talking, a couple days ago. Tell them again what you named it and explain the name to us.
Okay. Well, we named it Roughshod.
Yeah.
How I came to that, I like to watch Gunsmoke, those old westerns. I was sitting there watching Gunsmoke, and they were talking to Quint about doing the horses and how good he was and all that. And it just kind of hit me, roughshod. Wonder what the actual meaning of that. You always hear about people riding roughshod over somebody, and that sounds kind of mean. So I thought, well,
yeah.
And so I did, and what it says is leaving the spike sticking out the bottom of the shoe on the horse so you get tracks. Well, that's kind of what we're after. And so I said, "Laura, what do you think about roughshod for the name on the tractor?" Well, I think that's okay. So as you gone into the definition, on down through that, it says that if your horse is roughshod, you're in battle with another man on a horse, which we do that all the time, tractor pulling. If your horse is roughshod and you can get that man knocked off of his horse, your horse can do a lot of damage to him and his horse. So I thought, well, I don't think I'm that mean, but it sure sounds like you're trying to be aggressive, and I think that's kind of what you.
It's a great name. It was fitting too, because when you brought it out with the primer gray on it, and she wasn't all put together, it kind of had that rough and tumble, but still sleek and aggressive look at the same time. Rough shot. I like what you said. After 30 years of paying homage to Lee, well, now it's yours. And David, it's been yours for a long time. The Anderson Farms machine, or Lee Aylward's tractor. It's a historic tractor. And we love that something like this is still going. It's really neat. Pulling through the past usually is just finding the old picture. Well, right. In this case, we found the story, and, the heart of this tractor, or the soul maybe of this tractor, it's still out there and it's still doing its thing. Thank you for joining us tonight. Hey, you're number one in points right now. We're going to see how this season shakes out. I'm sure I'll be seeing a lot more of you. Best of luck in 2025, my friend.
I appreciate it, Mike. That's sure the plan, and I look forward to seeing you and everybody. The hats off too. While we got a chance for the Ravenna and the Outlaw people, that was just beyond the call of duty, and they done a beautiful job, and it turned a mess into a wonderful place to be.
I've got to imagine you've been pulling for a long time. Have you ever had a better track at 9 o'clock at night compared to what it looked like at 9 o'clock in the morning? Is that the biggest? Would you have ever guessed? You'd have thought maybe we'll go pulling, but it's going to be a greasy mess. That track looked like it was perfect.
Oh, it was great. Yeah, I would have never guessed that. I would have, I heard it raining on the truck that morning. So we're done. We might as well start her up and head her back to Missouri. Some of them were talking. They said, we're going to try her. Okay. But and then you just had to get out of the way because things was happening, and they done a beautiful job. It's been a long time since I hooked it anyway, but a long time since anybody was on a track that nice, especially at Ravenna. Had to deal with.
Right. Absolutely. They worked their tails off. It was, a phenomenal job. It's why we love pulling. David, thanks for joining us. I really enjoyed this. Best of luck the rest of the year.
Thank you, fellas. I really appreciate it as well.
Thank you much. Yep. All right. That was David Anderson pulling through the past. Logan, tonight was a fun show. We got to talk a little PPL up there at Mackville. We got to talk some NTPA Grand and Regional National out there in Hutchinson, Minnesota, with a hometown winner. And we got to take a look at kind of the whole history of a tractor, someone who's been pulling a long time. Didn't know that. Imagine, you sell the tractor, but you want one last rodeo on it, and the guy says, hey, here's the keys for Louisville. I mean, that's neat stuff right there. Super nice guy from the Outlaws, David Anderson. That's pulling, buddy. Where are you going to be next weekend?
Next weekend, we're giving a shout out to one of our good pulling friends that does a great job with event, Gail Lutz, out at his place, Cherished Acres Garden Tractor Pull. Hopefully the rain holds off for that, and we get to have a good showing in there. And then after that, it's full bore. Let's get this Grand National season rolling.
Absolutely, folks. We'll be back next Monday, 7:30 every single Monday night. Let's Grow Pulling. Mike Eitel, Logan Stevens. It'll be after Farley. They'll be after Mackville. There's a lot going on. We'll have a lot of stories. Can you this time next week?
There's going to be a lot of big stories.
Multiple people holding on to a $50,000 pulling check. That's going to put the world on fire. It's going to be a media storm. It's going to be awesome. Thanks for everything you do, man. You're doing a phenomenal job out here. It's just great having you on board. Folks, thanks for watching. Have a great night. Mike Eitel, Logan Stevens. Let's Grow Pulling.
Today.
Let's talk about today.
Grand National state level, you have to run non-sale. It's wholesale.
Is like 9,000.
The only mistake I made, I didn't put her in a registration booth with the
just this ever evolving story.